Harless Center. And June Harless Center has a resource on campus called the Lending Library. So it's located in Harris Hall, 442, and we have a bunch of technologies that we lend out to educators and people out in West Virginia. So a couple of tools we have, I don't know if you guys used any of these tools in your classes, but we have Sphero, which it's a little ball, and you can use an iPad to program it and do things with it. Some things that we've done with some students, we've had little posters and had shapes, so geometry. You can use it to teach geometry, have the ball trace out, square, measure. Because when you program it, you have to actually put in the measurements, so have the ball go so many meters this way, 90-degree angle, and then so many meters the other way. Another technology we have, this is pretty new, we have drones. Kind of uses the same thing as the Spheros, but it's actually a drone, so you can have the drone go up and fly on missions. You can use programming with that, or you can actually just fly the drone. So if you're social studies, that was my specialization. You can use the drones and talk about privacy and how to use drones while maintaining privacy. We have false kits. I don't know if any of the science educators here have used that. We have a bunch of those through like kindergarten through 8th grade. We have, let's see, what else do we have? We have arts and bots. I don't know if you have used arts and bots in your class. So basically use circuitry and programming and use recycled materials or like art materials and create robots. So last year I actually worked with a bunch of students at Martha Elementary School, and they watched the movie WALL-E, and they had a unit on the environment, and they had to create a robot to somehow help the environment. So we had dump trucks. People made like dump trucks, recycling trucks. I had this one student, he made a tank to shoot poachers. Yeah, he actually, he's like, I want to make a tank to shoot poachers. And I was like, I don't know if we can do that with this kind of I don't know if we could actually make it happen with the robots and stuff. So he was like, and he went in the corner and he messed around the whole week. And by the end of the week, he made a robot that shot wheels. So he came up with, a solution to that. We have circuitry kit, so that's a little bit more on the primary side. There's these little blocks with different kind of circuitry, and you connect them together. So you have blocking blocks, which is kind of like Legos on steroids or something. We have little bits, which is kind of like Legos, but you can program those. We have a website and a Facebook page. The best way to find out what resources we have is go to the Facebook page. It's just Harless, just like the dining hall, lending library. Has all the information on there, has the website. So all this is available for you guys to use, free of charge. You don't have to, pay or anything like that. You can contact either me or Miss Elizabeth. She's going to talk to you about the GA positions, I think, after this. But usually if you talk to her, it's going to come to me. So my email's on there. I think my phone number's on there, and then you can actually just message to the Facebook page and you can contact me through there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Where did you say that was located at? What room number?
It's 442 Harris Hall.
Killer.
Any other questions? If you go to the website, I'm sure I missed some of the stuff because we have a ton of stuff. It has everything on there, all the stuff we have.
Okay, and we're going to link that to our PLC page,
Okay.
so we can pull it from there too. Awesome. All right.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name's Elizabeth Crawford. Sorry, I have a cold right now. But like Nate said, we would love to be able to work with you to make your experience better in your student teaching placement. Nate and myself will be happy to assist you with that too, and learning the technologies and implementing that in the classroom. I work for the Marshall University Early Education STEAM Center. It's located in Corbly Hall, and we also have a satellite classroom at Explorer Academy in Cabell County. And we're always looking for graduate assistants. I was a graduate assistant myself, and it's just a great opportunity if you're interested in grad school. We have a tuition waiver and an hourly wage, and the experience is just priceless. So just keep that in mind as you're working through your last semester. If you're interested in learning more about the graduate assistant position, we'll be happy to meet with you and talk to you more about that. So.
Awesome, thank you so much. I just want to add, and Elizabeth can tag on to this, that is not just for elementary folks at all. That's for all content areas. If you guys know Brighton Joe that graduated last semester, Tara Beth had emailed me his name, and I was like, oh my gosh, he is the GM. He is great. And so he is actually a GA with Harlow Center now, which is pretty cool because he was social studies, secondary social studies, and now he's doing that. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. So I'm going to link their information to our PLC site, this site, the site. And then now we have Dr. Lucas and Dr. Watson, and they are going to talk to you about TPA stuff. So.
Good morning. How are you? Okay. Apparently it's either been a long morning or we're not excited that we're almost done. I hope you're excited you're almost done. So I'm here to talk about the TPA, which is the portfolio that you're going to be doing with your student teaching. I'm only going to go over task 1 today. We are going to, and I'm not sure if Mrs. Priest has given you the other dates, but we're going to split the elementary and the secondary for the second meeting, and then we're going to come back together for the last few tasks. Oh, okay, thank you. I usually break rules and I'll follow through. So that might be a little bit easier to answer different questions that elementary and secondary and related arts folks have. But today is all general, and I'm only going to talk about task 1, and I'll do that just as soon as Dr. Watson gets some information up for me. It might be easier for you all to see. In the meantime, let me talk about the TPA just for a second and give you some background information. Everyone in the state of West Virginia does some type of portfolio. And of the 19 EPPs, there are about 14 or 15 that use this exact TPA. And so not that we compare scores, but because it is a common assessment, we do things the same way. So anybody that goes to a different university or college in the state, and you know them, they're going to, if they're in one of those EPPs, they're going to be doing some of the similar things that you're going to be doing. It is based on a 4-3-2-1 scale, and your goal score for each element is a 2. Now you may say, oh gosh, that's really low. Well, it is written for someone who is really, really, really above and beyond. There are many teachers in the field who might not get 4s on it either. But that's the way the state assessment forms are written, so you've got to be top-notch and above to get a 4. So when you get 2s, please don't be upset. Please don't think that's a C, okay? It's not a 4A, 3B, 2C, and a 1D. Now, 1s are not good, so if you want to think of those as an F, you go right ahead and think that way. Because if you get any 1 on any of the elements, you will have to repeat that. You don't have to repeat the entire TPA, you just have to repeat that element, okay? So any 1 is not good, but a 2 or above is great, okay? So right now, just get that out of your head, that a 2 is average. It is, but it's passing, okay? And one of the reasons the state went with that grading scale, because their teacher assessments are the same way, is let's say all of you come out of here with 3s and 4s, and so you think you are super, and you are, and then you get to your first teacher evaluation and the principal gives you all 2s, and you're thinking, wait a minute, I had all 4s because we use the same assessment tool that they use for their teachers. It's just tweaked a little bit when you do your student teaching evaluation. And so you think, wait a minute, I was a 4 last year, how could I be a 2 now? So we don't want you to feel that way, all right? So for the TPA, it's graded the same way, 4, 3, 2, 1, must have a 2 on every single element. If you get a 1, you will have to repeat that. Usually I can tell you 1s are given because you didn't elaborate enough. You didn't give enough details. Maybe you skipped it. I can't tell you how many TPAs we look at, and there are empty sections all over the place. I kind of hope that maybe you sent in the wrong TPA and you didn't send in your final version. I hope, and when I say you, I'm talking about everybody in the past because you haven't done it yet. But I hope those are accidentally sent in and not you're saying, oh, well, we'll get a second chance or whatever. You don't always get a second chance. There is a timeline. We have had, and I hate to say this, but you need to know, we have had students not pass student teaching because they didn't pass their TPA. Okay? That can happen. I don't want that to happen to you. You do the TPA in your first placement, and the reason you do that is because if by chance, and I hate to say this, but let's say it's a total disaster. I was going to say you bombed it the first time. You do have your second placement, but the only thing is you're going to be redoing the entire thing. So little bits and pieces are okay, but you don't want to have to redo that whole thing. And then if it's not, if you don't have time, or you can't get it done, or it's not good the second time, then you will fail student teaching. Okay? That is a requirement in order to pass student teaching, is to pass that TPA with all 2s or better. Okay? So I don't mean to put a damper on it, but I need you to know what some of those issues are, and you don't want to start out that way. When your evaluator evaluates your TPA, you will get some pretty good feedback as to why you did not pass a certain section. Again, like I said, usually it's details. So if it says describe, I don't think you can describe something in one sentence. If it says to elaborate or to include things, you want to make sure that you do all of that, okay? So on your live text account, you will have the template for the TPA. And what we did was we put it all together. Actually, Dr. Watson did this. He put it all together. And we have the charts included that you will need to fill in. So if there's a chart, don't assume you can just ignore it, okay? It has to be filled in. There are the statements and questions that are in the directions, and we left some space. We probably did not leave enough space for some of you. We maybe left too much space for some of you. So you can adjust that. Don't think that if there's only, a couple sentences that you can get in there, that's all you can put in. You can expand it. The lesson plan template is also in the rubric, or in the template that you have. So you just fill it in. If you need more days, or you want to take some of those out, you can do that as well. Okay, so it is all there. I think just the template itself is in the neighborhood of
62 pages.
62 pages. Okay, now that's with nothing in it. So when you start putting your stuff in it, it's going to get up there. We've had TPAs turned in that have been 150, 60, 70, 80 pages. I don't don't know if we've had one over 200, but they get up there. So don't feel that, oh my gosh, I'm doing too much. No, the more you write, the better. Now, if you're writing the same thing over and over and over, yeah, that's not better. But don't worry about the pages because it's already 62. So when you start adding your stuff in, it is going to grow. Okay? The first thing, have you talked about the release forms? Okay, I'm just going to mention this, and Mrs. Priest will talk about this a little bit later, but you are going to have consent and release forms from your students in order to do the videoing and all of that. Those don't go in the TPA, all right? She will tell you to scan each of those in a separate file and attach it to the live text document, not the TPA, but attach it as a file, okay? So you don't want to add that because that will add numerous pages. Some of you probably at some point along the way, you're going to ask, can we include pictures? Can we include things that we've taken? We went on a field trip, it was really cool, I got these pictures. Yes, you can include those, but I would suggest that you include them in a separate file, and then in your TPA say, you might want to look at the pictures when we went to wherever and saw all of this, but don't put it in your TPA, okay? But put it as an attachment. Think of anything else general. I don't know.
Don't panic.
What?
Don't panic.
Yes, don't panic. Probably the best advice we can give you is start early. Save everything that you do as a Word document. It's probably easier to do it that way, and then you can copy and paste it into your TPA template. Some people save them numerous times in numerous places. You don't want to lose anything. I mean, I could stand up here and probably for a half an hour give you horror stories. I won't. But we had
did.
students.
I just
Oh,
gave
you
one.
did?
I just
Okay.
gave one.
Okay.
Don't let your cat walk on your computer.
So we've had horror stories where the night before it's gone. We had another one where a student, her computer literally crashed. I think we got some of it back, but we didn't get all of it back, and so we had to make some accommodations. But save it, save it, save it. Save it on a flash drive, save it on your computer, save it wherever, okay? Give mom and dad a copy, I don't know. Just just save it many times. It does happen, but please don't come at the last minute, 11:58 on whatever, October the, whatever it is, and say, oh, I lost everything, okay? Please. Okay, so your first assignment from me is to read this document. It should be on your live text account.
It will be this afternoon.
It will be this afternoon, so you're off the hook until you get out of this meeting. Please read this from cover to cover, okay? Because I'll be mentioning some things in tasks 4, 5, and 6 that we won't cover, or 5, 6, and 7 that we won't cover in our next section, and you may not have any idea what I'm talking about. But please read it. The rubric is here as well, so you can look and see how you're going to be scored in the document. And that's good, because we don't put every single piece of information that you have to have in the directions, but if you look at the rubric, it will tell you how you can get a 4 over a 3, or a 3 over a 2, or definitely a 2 and not a 1. Okay, so please, please, please. Did you give them dates for, is it next week?
I didn't give them
Okay.
a date yet, no, because we don't have a room yet.
Okay, so I think we're probably meeting next week. So you have a week. What's today? Monday. So yes, we're not meeting on Monday because it's a holiday. So you do have a week to read this, but please, it is very, very, very important, because what's going to happen is you're going to get your evaluation back from your evaluator, and you're going to say, why did I get a 3 and I didn't get a 4? And probably the answer is going to be, look at the rubric. Okay, so you'll get all your information here. So the very first task is something that you can start with, and I should tell you what you don't want to do is go in today and think, okay, I'm talking to my teacher, I'm gonna start my unit, I'm gonna write my unit tonight, I'm gonna be done by the time we meet. Please don't do that, because there are things you have to do prior to writing your unit. One is you have to think of that pre and post test. And we're gonna talk about that next week. I might mention it just a couple minutes when I get through here. But task one, you can start immediately. And if you can get task one out of the way, then that's one thing that you have done. Wherever you type it, whatever you do, save it, okay? You can save all of your information in your TPA document in LiveText. Just don't submit. All of you, I'm sure, have had to submit some type of assignment or whatever so far in LiveText, right? I mean, I don't think there's anybody that hasn't done that. So you can save, but don't submit, all right? So, task number one is the contextual factors. So that's, what's going on in the school, the community, all of that stuff, okay? We gave you, in the first part, we tell you what each of the tasks are and what they mean. There are 3 parts to task one. And then we give you some what to do's, what kind of things to do. And anything you find here in the template, that's going to be written out for you, and there's going to be space for you to comment. Like here it says, in the narrative, analyze and discuss. Okay, that's more than a sentence. And there's going to be a space. There you go. There's going to be a space for each of the 3. So you're just going to put that. And then that last column was resources.
I'm jumping back.
That's okay. It was required artifacts. These are things that we will be looking for, okay? Make sure you put references throughout. Wherever you get your information, make sure you tell us that. Otherwise, we're going to assume it's your own. And if we find it somewhere else and it's not your own, you know what that means. That's plagiarism. Okay. So this is an important piece, and you will see this in all of the tasks. So now when you scroll down to the chart. So in task one, here's the chart. All you have to do for this first part is fill in the chart. These are the contextual factors. You can bullet them, okay? You don't have to put big sentences in this, okay? You can tell, like it says, and these are just some suggestions. Like you can tell us, is it urban, suburban, rural? What's the census data, et cetera, socioeconomic information, enrollment, percentage of students on reduced lunch, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Classroom factors, the classroom arrangement, rules, routines. You can just bullet all of that stuff. And there's a section on student factors, cognitive, social, emotional characteristics. Those are some ideas, how many students are in the class, grade level, gender, et cetera. Those are just bulleted items, because those bulleted items are going to help you, scroll down just a little further for me, when you get to
How far do you want me to go?
to the, where you have, oh, you're not in that one.
I can jump in.
Okay, jump over there. Okay, so scroll now to the chart. Okay, so here's what you're going to be typing in. Okay, that was the direction one. Here's what you're going to be typing in. So it's the exact same chart, bullet, bullet, bullet. It will expand with you if you need it to, and then scroll down too. And then this next part, these are the questions that you're going to discuss and analyze. Okay, so you're going to use that information that you put in your bulleted list to talk about how these, and this one gets a lot of students, impact the planning, delivery, and assessment of your unit. Okay, how are those things going to impact what you're going to teach? Okay, you may say, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to teach yet, which hopefully you don't know. You haven't been out there, so you might want to wait on that. But, you know, if you have, let's say, a whole class of girls, and you're going to do something that maybe they don't know a lot about, that might impact the learning and the planning and the delivery, okay? So that's what that means. So don't ignore that. Don't just say, don't take that bulleted information and just put it in sentences. Tell us now, how is it going to impact your planning, et cetera. Okay? So that template, the chart, you could go ahead and do these first few days that you're out in the school. Now, where are you going to get that information? Well, you can talk to your teacher. You can talk to the principal or someone in the school. They have a lot of that information. A lot of the information comes from the West Virginia Department of Education's homepage. And Dr. Watson has pulled this up for you.
That's just the search page. Which thing do you want me to show them first?
I don't care, whichever one you want. So on the West Virginia Department of Education's homepage, you can find just about anything you want about the school, the county, the area you're going to be in. Now, you may say, well, but I can't find such and such. Well, all of those things aren't mandatory. Give us enough that we know that you know what kind of a situation you're in. So Dr. Watson has gone to,
It's wvde.us is the State Department of Ed page. The easiest thing to do once you get there is to do a search for Zoom WV. That's their database. Just follow the links till you get to this page, and then
Zoom WV on the West Virginia Department of Education's homepage.
that's not the name of the website. That's just a search term to get. That's what they call their database, and then you can click down here where it says enrollment.
So wvde.us.wv.
I must have it open somewhere. Hold on, I gotta find it now.
And
I've
then
got too many
search.
pages. For some reason, it's not popping it up.
And then search there for Zoom WV.
Huh.
You'll get probably everything and more. Yes, ma'am.
If we're getting information from the principal or the teacher, do you want us to like say according to the?
Yes, that's fine. Or you can put that in your reference section and just say some of the material or some of the information I received from principal and teacher. But I would say I would try here first and get everything you can. Now, I will tell you, when was this last updated? Do you know? This may not, I mean,
Yeah.
you may find some information here and then the teacher or principal says, oh, that's way out of date. Yes, the West Virginia Department of Education does not keep their pages up to date. So, but neither does the county. So anyway,
It is not
you're going,
working.
that's the information that you have. Okay, so don't have an arguing match between the principal and the teacher saying that that's not what it says because they probably have more current information. What you get from
There.
here is good enough for us. Okay, we're not looking for
There.
exact numbers. We don't have a list and say, oops, you're too off for counting. You know, we're counting that against you. But you're going to get general information. We just want you to know what kind of an area you're in, what kind of a school you're looking at, okay? And they do stay relatively the same.
Okay, so what I did was, the link I was trying to click on wasn't working. When you get to Zoom WV, be back in a second. Your page looks like this. At the very top, it says, for instance, enrollment. And then you can click, anything you want to click there. But what you want to do then is filter data. This blue button, and look for your school. That's going to make me, it's going to make you pick the county. So let me just, oh, there we go. Now, you just scroll down. Now, this is a complete list of all schools in West Virginia in alphabetical order. You can go scroll down and find your school. I see my old elementary school, so let me check that. For some reason, this computer is not being cooperative when I click on stuff. Anyway, on a normal computer, you should be able to click it, and it will pull up the enrollment data. But it'll pull up the enrollment data, tell you by race, by gender, the kind of information that she's saying that you need to put in. So if you're still running into problems with it, email me and I'll figure out why the department is having issues.
But I would suggest starting here instead of taking a list of questions to your teacher because you're going to find very soon when you're teaching all day long and I come in and start saying, can you tell me how many students you have and how many are on reduced lunch and how many have IEPs and what all of those are, you're going to say, I'm trying to teach. Could you just do that later? So start here. There may just be a few little gaps that you want to put in. You may find everything you want here, okay? That way you're not taking time out of the teacher's schedule, but you will see very soon, you wouldn't want somebody doing that to you. Okay? So in a nutshell, that's task one. Not a big deal, right? Those of you that are go-getters, I expect probably when I see you next, you'll have this section done, or at least the template done. Don't put it off, because when I see you next, you're going to have been in the classroom a week, and you're gonna be ready to start your unit and all that kind of stuff, or at least start writing it. And this, you will say, if I'd have only done that, I'd have been that far ahead. Because you don't wanna save this till the end, and you think you're done, and then you've gotta go back and figure out all of that stuff that you could do right now. Because right now, you're not writing lesson plans, and you're not doing some of that stuff. You're doing just a little bit of let's get used to the classroom. So you've got some time. Later, you won't, I promise. Okay? I'm done with task 1. Any questions? Yes?
Do the references have to be like at the end of each task or at the end of the document? Like
At the end of each task.
Okay.
Put your references at the end of each task. It will help the evaluators immensely. Yes?
Mine's out with the consent forms. If the teacher already has them, or do you guys provide a template, or how do we? use
You
this
will
template?
get one, Mrs. Priest will either send, or maybe it's on there, actually, I think it's on there. The consent form is on there,
The
correct?
consent form is in line.
You have to use our consent form, okay?
And the teacher's gonna say, oh, we already did this. This
Or
is
we
different.
have this on file, we get this from every student, the very first day of class, and we've got it. We still have to have it. Now, I'll tell you what's gonna happen. You're gonna come back and say, I've been asking for it for 3 weeks, and I still have half the class not turn it in. Do the best you can. Technically, we need those. I mean, if you can't get them, you can't get them. But maybe you do a little incentive. Maybe they get 5 minutes extra recess time. Maybe they get an extra credit point on the test. Something. Maybe they get a sucker, I don't know. Maybe they get, their card changed up where it hadn't been moved down. I don't know. But maybe think of something, because we need those. If something would happen and, we have them on video and it's out there and somebody sees it and they weren't supposed to be, you could say, well, that's not my fault, they didn't turn it in well. So,
Let me,
Yes.
before you
Okay.
ask your question, I use Google Chrome or Firefox or something, because when I jumped over to that, it worked fine. This is just one, I don't even know what school I pulled up, but this is an example of what you'll see when you go out there and look for it.
It says Watson Elementary. No.
There is a Watson Elementary.
Yes, there is.
We just do this for the one class that we're videoing, right? Not all of our.
That is correct. If you're secondary, you are going to have a main class that you're going to be doing your unit in, and we'll get into that next week as well. But if you're secondary, you're only going to do it for that one class. Now, you're going to be teaching in all of your other classes, but you're only going to be doing a unit in that one class. So yes, just for that. Anything else on task 1?
Are you scared to death about task 1?
Oh, are you really scared to death about? Well, don't be scared about task 1. Save it. No, I'm kidding. Save it. You're fine. You have worked so hard to get here. This is like your reward. Okay? The TPA, well, the student teaching it, because you said, oh, they're just scared about the whole thing. No, well, it will be your reward if you pass it. So, you've worked so hard, you can do this. You're not doing anything here that you haven't already had to do in some fashion in a class before.
My advice was just to stay on track. Do not let this build up and then be a week out and
Right.
feel like you could.
And let me say let me say about that, some supervisors do, but for the most part, they don't really give deadlines to say, okay, task 2 needs to be done this by this date, because we don't grade it along the way. That's not something that it was written to be done. So when you finish task 2, you don't take it to your supervisor or your teacher and say, well, could you grade this for me? Because that's not supposed to happen, okay? It's supposed to be done as a collective piece of work, and it will be graded as a collective piece of work, okay? So I know I've had students in the past say, well, could you give us some samples that we could look at? Yeah, I could, but then yours looks like theirs, and it has nothing to do with the class. So keep that in mind. We had, I don't know when it was, but recently, we had a TPA whose unit did not match the video. And that should be a big, oh. okay? That can't happen. All right, so I can tell you what happened, but I'm sure you know what happened. Don't let that happen, okay? Yes?
You answered my question.
Oh, I did? Oh, cool, okay. See, if I talk long enough, I can just keep going on and on and on. So other questions about task one? I want to just give you a few general things about the rest before we leave, but I do want you to know that if something major comes up, a question comes up between now and when I see you next week, you can email Mrs. Priest, you can email me, I'm Dr. Lucas. My email is white, P-W-H-I-T-E-P, as in Paula, at marshall.edu. I just never changed it on that here. And she sends me emails all the time, the student said this, the student said this, so you can always get an answer from us, or a lot of you know me, you can just stop in and see me. So, a couple of general things. You will have to video your lesson, obviously, okay? Keep in mind that when you look at that, and I think that is task 5, there are about 6 or 7 things that we're looking for in the videos. You're not going to go in there and video all day long. Your video can only be 15 minutes, max. At 15:01, we stop watching. Okay? It can be as many clips as you want. I mean, if you really wanted to do 15 1-minutes, I guess you could, but, or 30 seconds, but I wouldn't suggest that. But total, 15 minutes. I will tell you that some people will put in one clip and it's 7 minutes and 54 seconds. And there's a lot of things that they didn't include in it, so I'm wondering, why didn't you finish out the 15 minutes and get the rest of the stuff? But anyway, 15 minutes max, but seriously, 15:01 we stop. You will have to do a pre and a post test, so that will help you write your unit. So please, please, please don't have your unit written when you come in next week. If you have the idea, that's great. You'll need to start looking for some standards and things like that. But please read the entire document before I see you next week. It will be very, very helpful to you. And if you have it on your laptop or you have it in paper form, you might bring it in so you can jot some notes down. It's not going to be difficult, but you just want to make sure that you follow all the steps. And we're shooting for a 2 on each element. And we're not going to procrastinate, right? Anybody want to admit you're a procrastinator? Oh, okay, so you people have to work really, really hard to overcome that this semester. I would say for your life, but I do procrastinate in some things as well, but, and it always gets done, but I always say, if I had only done task 1 when she said do it. Okay. Nothing? Okay.
Do we leave the prompts in there when we turn in the
Yes.
final GPA? Okay.
You leave it as is. You
Okay.
can expand or whatever, yes.
Okay.
Did I talk like really fast or did they understand? I'm not sure I've had these few questions in the past.
You're getting
So that's
good.
I don't know about that.
We just keep getting better and better.
There you go. Yes. Nothing?
They're hungry.
I don't know. I don't blame you. I kind of am too. Okay, I will see you sometime next week. I think Mrs. Priest will send those dates to you, and good luck. Have a great first day. You don't go out today, do you? No, tomorrow. Have a great first day. I'm so excited for you. Go on. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so a couple of things. We'll see here.
And we are just hammered down. We got all kinds of stuff done this morning. Thank you all.
No
I
problem.
know. So in just a second, we're going to break for lunch. We are starting promptly at 1:30, okay? That doesn't mean walk in here at 1:32 or whenever you feel like it. We are starting promptly at 1:30 with Dr. Backus. I've given her 30 minutes. If you've ever had Dr. Backus for class, she tends to like to take her full time, maybe a little longer. Anyway, my hope is that we finish up by 3 to meet with university supervisors. Okay, everybody good on that? Mr. Flanagan, do not leave. Okay, I'll start you real quick. So, I just forgot something I need to tell you. Does anybody have any questions about the morning up to this point? No? If you think of a question while you're at lunch, because here's the thing, you're gonna go to lunch and you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, do you know this? No, I don't know this. No. Ask me, okay? Ask me. Yes?
Okay, sorry.
No.
Really quick. So my level 2s, I was in the same room as a student teacher.
Uh-huh.
And I know no jeans, absolutely.
Right.
But like colored jeans and like khaki, like denim, but like khaki color.
We usually can let that slide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, look around at your school environment.
Okay.
You know, pick up on the culture of
So
your
jeans
school.
on Fridays
If the school allows it. Yeah, a lot of, the school I was at, the last school I was taught at, we did jeans on Fridays, and you paid $1 and it went to Relay for Life or something like that, you know? And like, if that's what they do and the teachers pay your $1, you know, I mean, do whatever is necessary. So, any other questions? No. Okay, so here's the deal. This is the last long lunch you're ever gonna have for the rest of your life. Because for the rest of your life, you're gonna eat standing up while you're making coffee. I'm just telling you ahead of time. So enjoy, and we will start at 1:30 here in discussion.
You're welcome. I know, thank you so much. Quick question. Are they video?
We do video. Yeah, so be fine, okay?
I just, because ones I can't come to, I don't want to miss out.
Yeah, well, it'll be recorded and on our ELC site. Yeah, and I'll send you all the links.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I don't feel so intimidated.
Okay, so you're welcome.
We're gonna see something. Now, is the 2 months before the work plan the same way it used for you?
Should be. So I'm not going up school.
Because I enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, you're gonna go.
That was a very good.
Well, I'm not approved because I know there's things about that. I can live with it.
I got an example script too.
Where you're from. I was watching the news. She said
I've been to Spring Hill.
Okay, so if we have a doctor's appointment.
Okay, good. I didn't know if y'all
The
had
latest
that.
I can do is over. So if I have to leave a little early, what would I do about that? Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I can feel that vibe.
You're gonna love this song.
I love it.
I'll let somebody check it. And can I talk to you? You know? Only after me. After you, okay. I get it. That's fine, after me.
Awesome.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's what I told him when he was talking.
Oh, no. Mine's due by the 30th. How did it, there's the 26th. Write it down. I just know it off the top. I don't know how I know it, but I just do. So let's write this down.
I checked all my junk boxes everywhere. It's never,
It's not come through.
it's not come through.
This has camera written on it, but you know what this means. So, let me get a pen. Actually, let me turn this off because I